Hello everyone. Welcome back to another really fun-filled episode of Chasing Labels. This is going to be episode or spy number 146 or 146. And we are in the almost dead center middle of August of 2024. And if you know me, I like to make sure we are all well aware of time and where we are in it. Please give me a few seconds here. I just want to check one technical thing before we get going here. Um, we will, of course, be diving into all of the things that have been going on in the world of physical media announcements for movies in the last 2 weeks or so. Things that I'm interested in getting for my personal collection, perhaps things you'll be interested in getting for your personal collection, and just some things I found interesting in general. Um, Today, of course, we're going to start off with just some general stuff that's going on in the world of movies, in the world of movie fandom and and being a cinephile and all that kind of stuff. Of course, we've had not one but two unfortunate passings in the last couple of weeks. Actually, within the last 2 weeks, not even week and a half, week and a half. The great Gina Rowlands and the great Elaine Delon, who we've brought up many times here on Chasing Labels, just because I think we've come across much of his work. A lot of his work is in the Criterion collection, which of course we've talked about numerous times, which we will of course talk about here later. I think I'm going to save that for the grand finale. Their announcements were absolutely incredible for November. November is going to be a heck of a release month from them, but we will get into that relatively soon. Um, yeah, so just going over just a little bit of stuff here. Like I said, the late great Gina Rowlands passed away. I have some stuff here in my collection that I've gotten over the years of her work. I personally think that she's one of the greatest actresses of our time, really. I think one of the greatest actresses ever. I don't know if that's a bit of a hot take. I don't know if that's a bit of a hot take at all, but I think Gina Rowlands was unprecedented and ahead of her time when it came to a lot of the things that she did, specifically in that 70s era of acting, the very gritty filmmaking, of course, with her, along with her husband, the late great John Cassavetes, which of course they were quite a pair, both on and off screen. I have the John Cassavetes set here, which I'm sure many of you also have in your collections. This is the Blu-ray edition. I have the DVD edition as well. So I bought this on DVD. I bought this on Blu-ray. If there is indeed a 4K of the John Cassavetes set in the future, perhaps I'll buy that as well. But I don't know if that's going to happen. If you know anything about John Cassavetes, his films were very much shot chaotically guerrilla style in not like the best quality, but the filmmaking was so unique to him. But in this set here, there are actually 4 films that Gina Rowlands was in. 3 that she starred in, 1 where she just had an uncredited part in it. The one that she had an uncredited part in was Shadows. I think she placed like Woman in Audience or something. If you look on IMDb and you scroll all the way down, you will see her get an uncredited credit for this film, Shadows by John Cassavetes. And then the next one here is Faces, which I believe she starred in along with Seymour Cassell. Is it Seymour Cassell? No. But we have Faces. Let me see if she actually starred in this, and I'm not just completely fibbing and just making things up as I go along, as I often do. Yeah, she was the ripe, I don't know, ripe old age. It's not kind of an awful saying, but she did live quite a full life, all the way up to 94 years old, a living legend in her own right at the time of her passing. Let me go down here. So there's Faces. And then, of course, she was also in Minnie and Moskowitz, which I don't have, which I'm not quite sure if Minnie and Moskowitz has a Blu-ray release or not. But she was in A Woman Under the Influence. I think this is the big one. This is the one I think a lot of people remember her from the most, is A Woman Under the Influence. I know a lot of people were rewatching this film because of her passing. This movie is, I think, in so many 1970s cinema, like tribute videos or compilation videos or whatever you want to call it, for good reason, because this film is absolutely astonishing. And she's incredible in it. And then she was also in the movie um, Opening Night, which is in here as well. This movie here, Opening Night. I've seen all of these, but it's been many years since I've revisited a lot of them. I mean, this does give me a good reason to go back and revisit a lot of these films. But this is Opening Night. And let's see, I have another one here. Let me just put these back here while I'm talking. There's shadows, there's faces. Move this aside. We also have another Cassavetes and Gina Rowlands compilation or combination of Love Streams. Love Streams is really is another like great combination pairing of theirs. This is actually a release from well, obviously Criterion, but it's their early dual format release. If you can see that over there, I don't know how the focus is going to work or not. I think I took the autofocus off. Let me see if the autofocus is off. No, the autofocus is on. No wonder why. So here you have Love Streams. That's going to be all blurry, but Love Streams, dual format edition, Blu-ray and DVD. Their early days of doing the dual format, which I know a lot of people liked. I loved it. They've kind of brought it back now that they've introduced 4K into the mix. You get your 4K, you get your Blu-ray. But back around circa 2013, 2014, you would get Blu-ray DVD combos. Actually, hold on. Big thick booklet here. This is where this is a 3-disc set. That's what I want to show. So that's Love Streams by starring John Cassavetes and John Cassavetes, Gina Rowlands. I haven't seen this movie in years. Directed by him, produced by Menachem Golan. Menachem Golan was, I believe, like part head or anywho. He was part of Canon Films. So this is technically part of Canon Films, I think. But this is Love Streams. If you haven't seen the film, highly recommended. Here's some other ones here. Night on Earth, the Jim Jarmusch film, which Gina Rowlands is in one of the segments in this film. This is an anthology film. I believe she's in the Los Angeles segment of this film. This film each segment takes place like in a different city. I believe she's in the Los Angeles one. And I think Jim Jarmusch tweeted out when Gina Rowlands passed about working with her and stuff like that. So this is Night on Earth, the Jim Jarmusch film. And then we've got Paris Je t'aime, or Paris I Love You, which is another anthology film. And this is a film that she's in one of the segments as well. I think she's in the Katia Latin section or the Latin Quarter section of this film. I think that's her here on the back. I think that's Gina Rowlands here on the back. And I know it's going to be blurry, but I believe that's Gina Rowlands down there. Oh, coincidentally, I believe it is. Don't hold me to it now. But yeah, that's Gina Rowlands down there. What an incredible actress. Really one of the all-time greats, like I said. Another kind of all-time great, or at least someone that everyone knows of, or by everyone, I mean like people who are cinephiles, people who love French cinema, people who just love to watch beautiful people on screen, which is a big thing for people when it comes to movies. If anything, we're all kind of obsessed, not all of us, but many people are obsessed with movie culture, movie stardom culture, and actors and actresses. We have, of course, the great Alain Delon passed away. Great actor. He was in some of the all-time great films. Incredible French actor. I know he had a lot of fans, me being one of them, and I've got a group of his films here, actually. Didn't realize how much I had in my collection. I didn't realize how much I still need to get. We've got Leclis, the Antonioni film. This is another one of those dual format Criterion releases from over a decade ago. Another 3-discer where we've got one Blu-ray and two DVDs. Um, what a gorgeous movie! What a hypnotic film! What a work by an absolute master in Antonioni. Um, yeah, this also stars Monica Vitti. Um, just an enchantment of a film. Um, yeah, I haven't seen it in years, but my goodness, I watched it late one night and completely enraptured by it. We have Lucio Visconti's The Leopard, which I believe is this is a Criterion Collection staple at this point. We're gonna talk about their basically Criterion Essential 40 film set that they're going to put out in November later. And this would definitely be in mine if we had an Essential set. So this is The Leopard here. This is a 2-disc Blu-ray edition. We've got, of course, Le Samurai. This is the Blu-ray. I have it on DVD. I have the Blu-ray. A 4K of it just came out. I didn't get that during the sale. I thought about it. But this is Le Samurai, one of the great neo noirs of all time. This film just screams cool. Man, Alain Delon on screen portrayed just one of like the coolest people you've ever seen. A hitman with a certain code and a certain process. Um, yeah, I think this movie is astonishing, just astonishing. By Jean Pierre Melville. We've got La Piscine by Jacques Deray. The literal cover of this is the literal first scene of the movie. Um, Alain Delon has his shirt off as much as possible in this movie. So this is La Piscine. And then we've got Le Cercle Rouge. This is the 4K UHD release. This was one of the early Blu-ray releases from Criterion. Then it went out of print, and they reacquired the rights, and then they released it in both Blu-ray and 4K. So I had to get that because I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity again. And then we have Mr. Klein, a Joseph Losey film. A Joseph Losey film that I really, really like. This is from 1976. This, of course, stars Alain Delon. Really good film. Really good film. See this if you can. If you can buy it, buy it. If you can watch it on streaming, maybe the Criterion channel, watch it there. But very, very good. But yeah, Alain Delon, what an all-time presence on screen for sure. And then let's get into what we usually do here on Chasing Labels. What we usually do here on Chasing Labels is we talk about a bunch of the announcements from the last 2 weeks or so, and I will get into that as I set aside um, these things from my collection that I've pulled out. Let me move that back over here out of the way because I have some other things here that I want to talk about. So let's see, where are we gonna dive in this week? Let me look at my notes. Let's start with the individual ones like I like to do, and then we'll save the slates for later. Not much in the way of slates when it comes to the last 2 weeks or so. We've got Criterion, we've got Radiance, we've got Kino spreading around their stuff. So let's get into MVD. Let me see if I can find MVD. Yes, MVD. Our buddies over at MVD, brother in cinema loving, Eric Wilkinson, is putting out My Love Affair with Marriage, a 2022 animated film coming out September 10th on Blu-ray. This movie stars Matthew Modine, Cameron Monaghan, Signa Bauman. I believe this is a Latvian film. And at least the version I watched was in English, but I believe it's from Latvia, and it's an animated film. And let's see, description. This groundbreaking animated feature, My Love Affair with Marriage, follows Zelma, a woman who navigates a series of romantic encounters, each one shaping her understanding of love and marriage. What is interesting about this film is, like I said, it's a Latvian film. It takes place in Latvia, but it takes place in Latvia while it was part of the Soviet Union, when it was under the Iron Curtain of the USSR, and then it moves along until it transitions into post USSR when it becomes Russia, and then the Berlin Wall comes down, communist is over in Russia, all of that stuff. So you see this woman kind of this woman, her life going through all of those tumultuous times and what that perspective is like for a woman what the expectations are in that society. You can imagine they are rather patriarchal, rather a lot of oppression going on and things like that. A lot of traditional types of roles when it comes to women in that society, and this film really gets into a lot of those things because this woman grows up within that society. She believes that that's the way life is supposed to be, and internally, she's struggling against that. She knows it's not supposed to be like this. There's something wrong with these sort of traditions that society has placed on women. So this movie explores a lot of those things in really unique and beautiful animation. It talks a lot about like the biological way women process things and growing up, starting from when you're a young child all the way through your teenage years and adolescence to adulthood and all of those things and relationships and expectations and all this kind of stuff. It's very internalized and very, very good. I thought this movie was fantastic. It's not the easiest film to find to stream. It's not really streaming anywhere, so this Blu-ray is going to be key when it comes to a lot of people finding it and watching it. I do recommend it. It's coming out from MVD Visual, or MVD as we know. Um, uh, Coming out September 10th. My Love Affair with Marriage. Really fantastic, fantastic stuff. Um, there's check here. Yeah, so that's from MVD. Um, so we'll move along here to what else? What do we got? Oh, let's go to Synapse. Synapse has one announcement that I wanted to uh make note of, and this is a movie called The Block Island Sound. There's a 4K Blu-ray edition coming out this December, so a few months away. This movie came out in 2020. It is available to stream right now on Netflix. It's a horror film, and the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I watched it, and it's a movie that was made here in my home state of Rhode Island. Block Island is the only island that is part of Rhode Island, coincidentally. And it's a summer hot spot. People go there during the summer to hang out and take day trips, weekend trips, rent beach houses, go to the beach there, etc., etc. But this movie plays on the idea of the Block Island Sound, basically the area in between, the mainland of Rhode Island and Block Island, and something weird is happening out there. That's what the horror premise of this is. This movie follows a guy who he's getting like visions of things. He's getting like certain communications maybe happening with him to do certain things. He's being hypnotized, he's being put in trances, and what is going on? And it's forcing him to go out to the Block Island Sound and forcing him to go out to this area in the ocean. So what is happening? The movie is an indie film. It's relatively low budget. I noticed it wasn't shot in a lot of major locations here. They name drop a few locations and whatnot, but it's a relatively low budget local horror film that I believe was made here. Doesn't star anyone that I think anyone's really ever heard of, but it came out in 2020. It's directed by a pair of brothers. It's directed by, of course, it doesn't say it here. Why would it? That would just make it so much easier for me. Let me go to IMDb. Because I thought it was a really nice little slow burn horror film. If you're expecting like a lot of things to happen, if you're expecting certain revelations to really explain things, exposition or stuff like that, it's not really that. It's more atmospheric. The acting in it I thought was uh impressive for what it is. Impressive for the type of indie film that it is. Kevin McManus and Matthew McManus are the two brothers who made this movie. And yeah, if you want to get a sense of Rhode Island, South County, Rhode Island, near the ocean, this movie kind of gives you that sense. The one thing that bothered me, just as a native Rhode Islander, and knowing people who live down by the ocean, uh, no Rhode Island accents in the movie. If you know Rhode Island accent, you know what I'm saying. It's kind of like Massachusetts, but a little bit different. For some reason, they decided not to have it in the movie. I don't know. That would have been a touch that I think I would have gone with if I was making the movie. But that's the Block Island Sound. Streaming on Netflix if you can. There's a 4K of it coming from Synapse in December 10th. December 10th. So let's move along from there. Let me see what else I've got. Um, Just wanna make sure that we're actually still streaming here. Yes, we are. So, let's move on. Let me see what I have here in my notes. Okay. Oh, Altered Innocence. Let me see if I can find it. Uh, here it is. So, Alternate Innocents, our old friends who are at OCN, the partner labels over at Vinegar Syndrome, have now since paired off to do their own thing. And they've been making announcements and stuff ever since, but I haven't really been keeping up with them as much as I should. But I did keep up with this one. They're putting out this movie called Suicide Room from 2011, and the release is scheduled to arrive on the market on October 8th. I wasn't aware of how well known this movie was. I went into this movie thinking it was some type of hidden gem, but if you go onto Letterboxd and you look this up, so many people are aware of this movie, and so many people watched it when it came out, or have since gone back and revisited it, or visited it for the first time, like myself. Um, Interesting. So description: Young Dominic is pressured to succeed by his wealthy and successful power couple parents. With only 100 days to go before final exams, Dominic is on target to graduate with top marks and gain entry into the finest university. After a dare at school form, after a dare at a school formal where he gets to kiss his crush, Alexander, the social media Dominic, is so invested in explodes with commentary about the event. Daunted by the thought of returning to school where even Alexander mocks him, he reverts from real life and logs into the virtual world. Cloaked in his avatar, Dominic meets Sylvia, who introduces him to Suicide Room where he meets others just like him. Soon enough, Dominic struggles to decipher what is real as common virtual experiences bleed dangerously into reality. Altered Innocence is proud to reintroduce this nostalgic piece of emo cinema to US audiences in high definition for the first time. Nothing in the way of special features, unfortunately. But yeah, this movie is very much kind of a compilation of the idea of emo. The way the kid dresses, the way the kid has his haircut, the way he acts, the music he listens to, the music that's utilized in the movie, all of that screams emo. And this movie is very much kind of peeling back the layers of the idea of emo and the idea of what all of that is. Kind of, it's an interesting movement that I remember being part. I remember it being around when I was a teenager in the 2000s, when I was in high school from '02 to '06. A lot of the emo music was starting to erupt, and of course the late 2000s as well. Emo bands and all that kind of stuff, and the way they dressed, the way they acted, all this kind of stuff. You would see them at the mall every weekend if you went. The groups and the cliques and all this kind of stuff. But this movie kind of takes it one step further, in that it brings in the idea of the virtual world, the idea of technology now being a place for these groups online, which is relatively ahead of its time as a concept. Keep in mind, this is 2011, which I know the virtual world online now is very much a commonplace. Social media has exploded over the last decade and a half. I mean, we are all living in our virtual worlds right now. Me talking to you is a form of the virtual world. Of course, there's online stuff and online areas. The video game world has exploded with all that stuff. So this movie is kind of playing on a lot of those early ideas, and he gets sucked into this online world where he's able to find a surrogate family. He's able to find people like him that relate to him on his level, because the adults and the people around him don't relate to him on his level, and nor do they try to. That's the big thing. This movie is peeling back a lot of layer of teenage angst, the separation of the previous generation to the current generation. It's peeling back a lot of those dramatic layers, and I think the film does a lot of that very well. It's hitting on a lot of general themes that I've been interested in terms of, this exploration of, adolescent cinema and teenage cinema, and the separation of the previous generation with the current generation, and how that seems to happen with every generation. And this movie is exploring a lot of those things, and it can be very serious. It can be over the top. It is a movie after all. It's not a documentary. But yeah, it's a powerful film for me. after I was done watching it, I had to really disengage myself to it, and that maybe that's just for me as a person, but this movie is Suicide Room, came out in 2011. Altered Innocence is putting it out, and this feels like an Altered Innocence film. Like, this is the type of movie that they get into, like Wounded Man and a lot of the other stuff that they've done when they were at OCN, and they've done so now that they're separated on their own. This is very much in their vein. Like, this is an Altered Innocence film through and through. Suicide Room, coming out October 8th. Altered Innocence. So moving on from there, let me circle back. Um, let's talk about 101 is putting out their own 4K UHD release of the 1980s movie The Sword and the Sorcerer. Now, for those of you already in the know that Shout Factory or Shout has already put out their own 4K UHD of this. So probably many of you have that in your collection. This is the movie that came out in 1982, directed by Albert Pune. I believe that's how you pronounce it. This is coming out October 7th. The Sword and the Sorcerer. I've seen this movie, around for years and finally watched it for the first time. And for me, I was surprised by what it is and for how effective it is for what it is. It's a sword and sorcery movie. It's a 1980s sword and sorcery movie. It's a relative B movie when it comes to special effects. When it comes to the actors in it, there's really nobody in it who I think people will know of. Think of it. It's kind of reminding me of the Beastmaster. It's in that vein of the Beastmaster. I think the Beastmaster is a little bit better, but the Sword and Sorcerer is like a classic tale of a prince getting revenge for the downfall of his family. There's this young guy named Talon who, when he was a kid, he saw his parents get killed by this evil guy, and then as now he's grown up and he wants to come back and take revenge. But he has a unique three-bladed sword that looks like the most cumbersome thing you've ever seen on screen. It's gigantic, it looks clumsy, it looks like it weighs a ton, and he's wheeling it around not easily. He's kind of like big and muscular like Conan, but not quite. Arnold was kind of a bit of a physical specimen in the 80s, a unique one, but it's in the vein of like Conan, of the Beastmaster. I mean, but it's of a lesser degree than that, the Sword and the Sorcerer. But what I find so endearing about the movie is that it took chances. Like, it took visual chances to try to be something more than what it is. Like, certain special effects used, a lot of fog machine use, slow motion and magic and all kinds of stuff are in it. But how this compares to the one put out by um the Shout Factory or Shout Studios, I'm not quite sure. 101 tends to do a lot of their own things when it comes to the special features here, but there's a plethora of special features. If you haven't gotten the Shout Studios one yet, perhaps you want to get this one. If you're in the UK, you would rather get it. I mean, 4K um is region free, so if you want this one, you can get, or if you want the Shout select if you want the Shout Studios released, get that one. Either way, this movie's kind of fun. I wouldn't mind owning it if it was, cheaper than what it actually is. But that is The Sword and the Sorcerer. Cool release, interesting release. Yeah, it's a movie I'm kind of glad I finally got to watch. It's been kicking around for a few years. The poster for it has always been awesome. The poster for it has always been awesome to me. So moving on from there, let's stick in the UK. Let's go with a Studio Canal release. This is a 70th anniversary Studio Canal release in Blu-ray, on Blu-ray and on 4K. This is a movie called An Inspector Calls. It's coming out October 7th, and Inspector Calls, a British film to a pretty high degree. A timely reminder of the importance of social responsibility and community. The Burling family are rich, pampered, and complacent. It is 1912, and the shadow of the impending war has yet to fall across their lives. As they sit down to dinner one night, a knock at the door announces the arrival of Inspector Poole, who is portrayed by Alistair Sim, who insists on questioning the family about the suicide of a young working class woman. It turns out that this young working class woman has ties to each member of this family in some way. So he's trying to get to the bottom of who is um, who is responsible for her death, or are they all responsible for her death in some way? And he's basically interviewing each of them, investigating them, and you get flashbacks of how they interacted with this woman and what impact they had on her life. The movie is playing on a lot of the ideas of social class and the discrepancy in social classes, and how the rich upper class kind of has their way with the lower class because of the power dynamics, because how money equals power, and if you have the power, you can manipulate people. All of those things. I really like the movie. It's a relatively short film, so it's a movie that um, breezes by very concisely. There's no wasted time in it. It's very well acted. It's very well shot. It's very well directed. Let me get the actual runtime on it as I look at my letterbox diary. Let's see. And Inspector Calls from 1954. If anyone wants to put that into some type of time perspective. Hey, the movie clocks in at 80 minutes. It's an 80-minute British film. It is streaming on Canopy. It's directed by Guy Hamilton, a name many of you may know. Guy Hamilton directed Goldfinger. He directed Live and Let Die. He directed Diamonds Are Forever. He directed The Man with the Golden Gun. What do all those movies have in common? They're all James Bond films. So Guy Hamilton directed a bunch of James Bond films. He directed Force 10 from Navarone. He directed, I believe, Battle of Britain, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. What else did he direct here? Evil Under the Sun. Uh, um, yeah, so Guy Hamilton knows his way around filmmaking. So this is a pretty cool British film, like from the 1950s, by Guy Hamilton. It's getting a new 4K restoration from the film from 2024, which is now. It says here, an Inspector Calls was scanned, restored, and color corrected in 4K HDR in Dolby Vision at Film Infinity London using the original 35mm camera negative film elements. That's pretty cool. And I know that they had released this a number of years ago, obviously not with this restoration. So this will be an upgrade from that if you have that Studio Canal release. There's a new film critic, Anna Smith, on an Inspector Calls. There's an audio commentary by author and film historian David Del Valle. Interview with actress Jane Wenham. Yeah, that is an Inspector Calls by Guy Hamilton, 1954, coming out October 7th. October 7th. So, let's see what else do we've got cooking here in terms of individual releases. I know we got a Flickr Alley one, but I want to see if there's anything other than Flickr Alley. No, we've got Flickr Alley. So Flickr Alley is putting out another Laurel and Hardy collection. This is going to be Laurel and Hardy Year 2, coming out October 29th. I've got to get some Flickr Alley releases in my collection. I don't have any, I don't think. And I've been wanting to get their work for several years now, especially the work they've done with the Film Noir Foundation, with Eddie Muller, whom we've had here on the channel, or we've had here on the podcast. We did an interview with him about 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago in June or early June or May, around that area. And he talked about his work in the Film Noir Foundation and all that kind of stuff, his work with TCM. And Flickr Alley has put out a lot of the stuff that they've done over at the Film Noir Foundation. But this is the Laurel and Hardy box set number 2. And we've got a few shorts here featuring all new restorations sourced from the best available materials, contributed by archives and collectors around the world, restored by Blackhawk Films and FPA Classic. This comprehensive deluxe Blu-ray 2-disc edition features their 10 1928 films as a team and additional films from the Hal Roach Studios that showcase their solo short film appearances, as well as the shift from silent films to films featuring music and synchronized sound effects. So I believe Laurel and Hardy Year 1 was, I believe, films from like 1927. So this would be their next stuff, Year 2, literally, in 1928. And we've got Leave 'Em Laughing, The Finishing Touch, From Soup to Nuts, You're Darn Tootin', Their Purple Moment, Should Married Men Go Home, Early to Bed, Two Tars, Habeas Corpus, and We Fall Down. Each film features a newly recorded score from the best silent film composers working today, including a bunch of names here, bunch of names. The release is curated by film historians and Laurel Hardy specialists. Yet again, a bunch of names here. We've got audio commentaries. We've got additional musical scores. It says Eve's Love Letter, one of Stan Laurel's final solo films, directed by Leo McCarey. That's a name. And written by Laurel himself from Rare 35mm Elements, Galloping Ghosts from 1928, two surviving fragments of a rare solo Oliver Hardy commentary. A Pair of Tights from 1928, a short starring Anita Garvin and Marion Byron, who were teamed to try and replicate the success of Laurel and Hardy. George Mann's home videos or home movies from behind the scenes of Hal Roach Studios, including the filming of Should Married Men Go Home, film-specific image galleries, souvenir booklet. This is a history buff's release. It really is. For someone like myself who loves history, who loves the history of the silent era, who loves just the behind the scenes stuff, and getting as much of that stuff as possible. I love this stuff. Like I said, I have to get Laurel and Hardy Year 1, Laurel and Hardy Year 2. Is this release here? They have another Laurel and Hardy box set. This is a lot of their stuff that's come out in the last few years. There's the definitive restoration, which came out in 2021. There's an release of their early solo films from 2021. I gotta get some of their stuff. So that is from Flickr Alley, Laurel and Hardy Year 2, October 29th. Pre-order it if you want, or get it when it comes out. Good stuff from Flickr Alley. Okay, I think we can get into some of the slates now. What are we doing on time? Oh, we're early. I'm rambling too fast. Let me take a little break here because I do want to dive into some stuff. I'll talk about Severin next. So Severin is didn't have any announcements, but they do have a tease of an upcoming announcement that will be happening this Thursday, August 22nd. For those of you interested in marking your calendars, we will be getting. Let me go over to their Facebook page, so I don't screw this up. So Severin's Facebook page. It looks like they will be. It says here on August 22nd, all will be revealed. There's 24 films, 18 nations, one Wicked collection. Now, what does that mean? It's very teaserish. There's a picture here of some flames. What I'm thinking is we will be getting something in the vein of All the Haunts BR's Volume 2, or All the Haunts BR's Volume 2-esque type of release. For those of you who have it, you know this box set well, All the Haunts BR's, a compendium of folk horror. This, I think, is one of their greatest releases that they've ever done. I know the Black Emmanuel set may eclipse it in terms of just gigantic size-wise, but this set here is so important, unique, comprehensive, all-encompassing. Any other adjectives you may want to use for All the Haunts BRs? This is it. This is a great release. They're just staggering. So to get a volume 2 of this, or to get a volume 2-esque type of release of this, is also monumental as well. As you all know, Severin does great work when it comes to their box sets. They do great work when it comes to the construction, when it comes to the films they put in it, all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which, I guess I can also say that I recently got the House of Psychotic Women box set, added this to my collection during their summer sale they had back in July. This finally came in. This was produced by, or maybe co-produced by, Kirla Janice, based off of her 2012 book, House of Psychotic Women, coincidentally, same title. This, of course, here has their usual, top loader box, individual cases. The black cases, always sleek, always cool. The 4-film box set of Identikit, I Like Bats, Footprints, the other side of the underneath. We talked about this when it was announced. About 2 years ago, I believe it came out, so I'm slowly catching up, but I really love this box set already. So I thought that was an easy way to squeeze that one in there. But yeah, to get an upcoming release from them, I know it's got people buzzing. It's got me buzzing. It's got all the world buzzing. So we will see that when it comes on on August 24th. I'll probably talk about that in the next episode. I've been dropping some shorts, some YouTube shorts lately, so perhaps I will do that as well. You know, they're minute long videos here. I've been starting to do those just to get people, you know, to just to put more stuff on the channel in terms of content and things like that. So perhaps when that gets announced, I will, you know, say a little bit about it. Um, but yeah, so that is Severin. Pretty cool stuff. Like I said, they haven't announced any movies. They haven't announced what it's called yet. They did do a little tease last week or so with the quote, "Roots intertwine, single trees become forest, moss grows between boughs, and myths dance twixt sunlight and shadows. Unquiet spirits are gathering again." So if that doesn't scream folk horror, I don't know what does. I don't know what does. Um, yeah, so excited, super excited. So let's move along from there. Let's stay in the same type of horror realm with Mondo Macabro. Our buddies over at Mondo Macabro, Jared Honor, who we've had here as a guest on the channel. Great guy, super awesome dude. He's doing stuff over at Mondo Macabro. He's also doing his own stuff at over at Diabolic DVD with Jesse over there. I think he has his own line. Oh man, I can't remember. Is it Neon Eagle? Is that his line? I really this is the times I wish Steven were still here. Um yeah, but anywho, Mondo Macabro's got 3 releases, 3 red case releases. Everyone loves the red cases. Red cases are cool, they're awesome. And we've got 3 movies here. We have Tokugawa Sex Band, which has an alternate title, mind you. We have The Killer Is Not Alone, and we've got The Hungry Snake Woman. Um so Tokugawa Sex Band has an alternate title if you go on to Letterboxd. It'll be under the title, um, hold on. It'll be under the title The Arado Maniac Dameo, um, which I think is The Arado Maniac Devil. Pretty sure that's what that translates into, kind of. Uh, but anywho, that movie, I figured why we're here. So, um, Kiyohime, a daughter of Tokugawa Lenari, is married off to Tadateru Oguru, the lord of a Kyushu clan. However, the lord's sexual inexperience and Kiyomi's strict morals lead to significant crisis in their marriage. To improve his sexual prowess, the lord is introduced to Sandra, a French woman held captive by usurer smuggler Hatakaya. This results in the Lord's choosing Sandra as his mistress. Kiyohime's attendants see this move as an insult and have Sandra beaten and imprisoned. Nevertheless, Sandra escapes with the help of Morita, a retainer of the Lord. Out of bitterness and as some sort of revenge, the Lord imposes a sex ban on his subjects, which of course probably leads to a lot of frustration amongst the public, amongst the people. This movie came out in 1972. I'm assuming it is rather lewd and explicit. That's something that Mondo Macabro has never shied away from with a lot of the movies that they've released over the years. So expect that for the Tokugawa Sex Band. Let me see if there's anything here in the way of special features. This is reversible cover sleeve art with art by Justin Coffey on the A side and original ad art on the B side. 24-page color booklet with new writings on the film by Japanese pink film expert Dimitri Lani. 3 double-sided art cards, and it's limited to 1,500 copies. New 2K restoration from the negative. Audio commentary by Japanese film expert Jasper Sharp. So I believe these are also all first-time releases in Region A land. So that's something to take note of as well. So let's see. What did I say? The Killer Is Not Alone. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see these films because to track them down was damn near impossible. So unfortunately, I can't say much about the quality of the film. All I can really say is that I'm interested in them. This movie here, The Killer Is Not Alone, came out in 1975 directed by Jesus Garcia Duenas. Julio, an only child belonging to a wealthy family, murders a prostitute who tries to seduce him. He, in childhood, suffered severe trauma, and this causes serious problems with women. Because of this, he runs away and stays in a boarding house in Madrid, where he meets Monica, the daughter of the owner, who maintains relationships that seek to build on for help in their desperate situation, as his obsession for killing is increasing. So you've got someone here who is sexually frustrated due to trauma from their childhood, which is something that's not, not exactly unheard of when it comes to plots for movies, and in real life that's an issue as well. I'm assuming this is going to be a more of an exploitative take on that. If I had to guess, when it comes to movies put out by Mondo Macabro, that seems to be the case. Um, but yeah, I was interested in actually seeing this one out the most out of all three of them, to be honest, but unfortunately couldn't be found to stream anywhere. Um, let me scroll back down to see what we got for special features. Um, we've got Spanish audio with optional English subtitles, brand new 2K restoration, interview with Angel Sala, director of the Sitges Film Festival, audio commentary by Troy Haworth and Rodney Barnett. It's got reversible cover art, comes with a booklet, usual stuff like that, the red case, which is kind of cool. And then we've got the third film here, which is titled um, uh, The Hungry Snake Woman. And I believe this is a sequel, actually. Let me see. Let me go over to Letterboxd, see what the write up they've got about it. Um, yes, so the Snake Woman returns in this bizarre horror fantasy. In this sequel to the Snake Queen, Brian, a man who believes that money and power will win over the love of his girlfriend, while fleeing through the woods after attempting things, he stumbles upon the Snake Woman, who promises him great wealth if he does her bidding. Seems exploitative, seems interesting, relatively so. Came out in 1986. Um, yeah, The Hungry Snake Woman. I can't say much else about it. Um, Interesting takes here on Letterboxd. I'll say that. Interesting takes here on Letterboxd. Let's see if we got anything else going here. So let's see what we got for special features. Brand new 2K restoration, and that's it. That is it. We got English subtitles, and then we got a booklet and a reversible cover and red case. That is it for Mondo Macabro. Support Mondo Macabro if you can. Super small company. I believe it's still only run by two people. Our buddy Jared Honor being one of them. So support them while you can, or support them as you can, I should say. Uh, Moving along from Mondo Macabro, let's see what else we got here. Let's jump into Kino. Yeah, let's jump into Kino because Kino's got quite a few things cooking, and we want to see what they've got cooking here. So some stuff that's not on their Facebook page, which frustrated me, is they're coming out with a collection here, which is coming out October 15th. This is the Classic Ghosts collection. I believe these are TV films from 1973 that all aired on ABC television. At least that's what the description here says. So it says, virtually unseen since their late night airings on ABC television in 1973, The Classic Ghosts is a series of 5 feature length teleplays shot live on videotape in the style of daytime dramas and meticulously restored by the UCLA Film and Television Archive. Not only do these Gothic thrillers showcase an array of celebrated actors, but are notable for having been produced by a primarily female creative team, including producer Jacqueline Babin and directors Leela Swift and Gloria Monty. It just says new restorations. It's a 2-disc edition. The productions are The Haunting of Rosalind, The Screaming Skull, The Deadly Visitor, The House in the Brain, and The Bones Came Together. So these are all like Gothic films of that time. Let me see if I can get a list of who's been in some of these. Um, there's some interviews here. Let me click on it and see what I can find. Nothing. That's great. Yeah, that kind of kills my momentum when it comes to this. Let me see if I can go on to their forum. Let's see. Now, trying to see if I could find some actors and actresses who were on some of those. The cover here shows a young Susan Sarandon, I believe, so she must have been in one of the films. Um, but it's interesting that Kino continues to kind of unearth these television films from the 1970s. You know, television films from the 1970s are not like they are now, not in terms of budget, not in terms of notoriety, not in terms of like preservation or like exhibition. I mean, these if these received VHS releases, I would be surprised. I mean, these were kind of just to throw on television for people to watch, probably on a weekend afternoon or an evening or something like that. So a lot of these probably, haven't seen the light of day in any real good quality in 50 years. They maybe these have VHS rips on YouTube or something. So to have these films be kind of restored into some type of quality and put out on Blu-ray of all formats, is pretty dang cool to me. Pretty damn cool to me. I hope they do a lot more of these. I hope these are selling well enough to be able to sustain them. I know they've done a few of these in the past that we've talked about, individual releases, I believe, and nothing quite like this. So that is the classic Ghost 1970s Gothic television, coming out October 15th, right in time for Halloween, coincidentally. That's pretty damn awesome. But let's move over to another film here that they are putting out. This movie's called Cross Creek. Cross Creek from 1983, starring Mary Steenburgen, Rip Torn, Peter Coyote, Dana Hill, and Alfred Woodard. The release is scheduled to arrive on the market on October 15th, same date as the other one. This was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, this film. Directed by Martin Ritt. Martin Ritt, one of the more underrated directors, I think, of the 20th century, later half of the 20th century. He directed Paul Newman in Ombre, and he directed Paul Newman in HUD. HUD still needs a Blu-ray release. I know Paramount has their hands on that. I'm hoping that that gets a release from someone somewhere soon. I mean, Kino would be a great release because I know Paramount's been working a lot with Kino with a lot of the releases nowadays. But somebody please put out HUD. But this movie here is set in 1923, and it's about kind of the life and career of the woman who wrote the famous book The Yearling. Yes, they really don't do a good job of expressing of the synopsis fares. I have to go to Letterboxd to get the synopsis. But I found myself thought this movie was rather interesting. It's kind of play by numbers, kind of a standard type of film when it comes to what it's depicting. So in the 1930s, Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings moves to Florida's backwaters to write in peace. She feels bothered by affectionate men, editors, and confused neighbors, but soon she connects and writes The Yearling, a classic of American literature. Now, I've never read the book The Yearling. I know that's probably part of a lot of curriculums in academia, summer reading lists, things like that. I never had to read the book in school. I never had to, read it for anything. But this movie kind of is about the author who wrote the book, and it goes through her kind of living in relative solitude in this backwoods area to try to write, her book. And like I said, it's got young Rip Torn, Peter Coyote, Alfred Woodard. It's a good film. It's a good, solid film. I don't really have anything super negative to say about other than it's a rather standard paint by numbers type of drama from the 1980s. Young Mary Steenburgen is in it. She is great as always. Malcolm McDowell is in the film in a small role. I think he plays her editor, who comes to visit her and tells her that her current book that she's writing isn't that great, and tell her to actually write something good. That's kind of like his advice is that this feels kind of hollow, this feels kind of fake. Write something that's more heartfelt, write something that's more genuine. And then she ends up writing The Yearling about kind of about her surroundings and about the people in her life in that area. That's kind of gives her the inspiration to write the book. Yeah, I also think Cross Creek itself is the name of a book. So this could be the adaptation of a book written about a woman who wrote a famous book. Um, The only reason I know that is because I was doing some thrift store book shopping last week, and I came across the book, and I was like, "Cross Creek, this looks familiar," and it happened to be that book. But that's Cross Creek. Let's see what we got for in the way of special features. Commentary by Julie Kurgo and Peter Hankoff. Cross Creek, a look back with Mary Steenburgen. It doesn't say anything in the way of restoration or anything like that, but who knows? So let's move along here to Plenty, a movie just called Plenty, and this is a movie starring Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep stars in this movie. This is coming out October 22nd. Um, let me get the synopsis up for this movie. Um, this is an interesting film. David hears account of a one-time French freedom fighter who gradually realizes that her post-war life is not meeting her expectations. So this movie stars Meryl Streep, Tracy Ullman, John Gielgud's in the film. Sting is in the film at one point. Ian McKellen, Sam Neill, um, Charles Dance. Hugh Laurie shows up at one point. A young Hugh Laurie is in this movie. And this movie starts off, and it's kind of like a long tale of like 20 years or even longer of this woman's life. Meryl Streep plays this French freedom fighter named Susan Traherne, and it goes from like her involvement in the underground freedom fighting during World War II to the post-war life, and so on and so forth. It goes through like her relationships and friendships and marriage and dissolution of marriage and all this kind of stuff, and just kind of her frustrations with life are on full display. So you're just kind of going along for the ride of this woman's life, her ups and downs and frustrations and things like that, and her kind of obsessions and then loss of obsessions and all kinds of stuff. But that Meryl Streep is a hell of an actress. She makes even the most mundane kind of, paint by numbers type of dramatic film really good because her acting is so good. That a great actor can elevate almost any material. They really can. That's what separates them from that's what separates the great actors, true great actors, from just kind of everybody else, really. Meryl Streep is really, really good in the film, and it's nice to see like a bunch of these people pop up that you may be aware of. That's kind of fun. But that's the movie Plenty. It's directed by Fred Schepisi. Schepisi. He directed the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin. That's where I know him from. He directed Mr. Baseball. What else did he direct? Another Meryl Streep film called A Cry in the Dark. 6 Degrees of Separation. He directed the movie IQ. He directed Empire Falls. So yeah, I wasn't too familiar with his work. So that is Plenty, coming out by Kino, October 22nd, and starring Meryl Streep. So let's move on to what they've got cooking over on their Facebook page. So they will be putting out sometime soon on Blu-ray a brand new HD master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative, Summer Rental, the John Candy comedy classic from 1985, starring John Candy, Richard Crenna, Rip Torn, Carol Austin, Cary Green, Joey Lawrence, John Larroquette, and Richard Hurd. Directed by Carl Reiner, rest in peace. And yeah, if this is one of the classic John Candy comedies of the 80s. If you know John Candy's work, you've probably seen this before. If you haven't seen it and you're looking for a fun John Candy comedy, check out Summer Rental. It says coming soon on Blu-ray. Whether we get it this year or not, who really knows? Who really knows? Next, they are putting out sometime soon in 4K UHD Road Games, the Richard Franklin film. Now, Road Games has been put out already on Blu-ray by Indicator. I have it. I have it somewhere. I can't remember where. I think it's on my shelf in drama section over there, I believe it is. But yeah, this is a great thriller from 1981 starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Stacy Keach. Richard Franklin, I think, is a really good director, a somewhat protege of the Alfred Hitchcock method and things like that. So he's bringing kind of that Hitchcockian suspense thriller to this Australian film. I believe it's already also been released in Australia as well. So chances are you've had this in your collection already, and if you don't, this would probably be a good way to get it because it's a really good movie. It's getting a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from 4K scan of the 35 millimeter original camera negative. It says coming soon, so who knows when we'll get it? Hopefully soon. Next is a 4K re-release. Hey now, I gotta get a drink of water for this because this is a big one. This is a big one. So a few years ago, um, uh, Kino put out Ryan Johnson's movie Brick in Blu-ray, and it was a big deal for at least for myself because I love this movie. I had only had it on DVD for the longest time, and then I bought the Blu-ray, and then now we're getting it in 4K. So on October 15th on 4K UHD, we've got Ryan Johnson's Brick. Looks like just actually, it doesn't say whether it's a 2-disc edition or not. I would assume it is. Yeah, it's 4K UHD and a Blu-ray. It's got brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master approved by Ryan Johnson himself. It's got a new audio commentary by professor and film scholar Jason A. Nay. Audio commentary by Ryan Johnson, actors Nora Zehetner and Noah Segan, producer Ram Bergman, production designer Jody Tillett, and costume designer Michelle Posh. 8 deleted scenes, the inside track, casting the roles of Laura and Dode. This movie I've always loved. Stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a nice young cast, a really good young cast. It's basically a film noir set in a high school setting, like a classic like 1940s film noir set in a high school setting, to the point where like they talk like they are in a 1940s film noir. It centers around the death of a young woman. So, a murder mystery, classic film noir trope there. We've seen that happen so many times. Really good film. Will I be upgrading this? I probably will because I love this movie so damn much. What will I do with my Blu-ray that I already have? I do not know. But this movie is, yeah, this movie's great. I really love this movie. It's coming on a triple layer disc. It's getting a slipcover. Yeah, I'm so ecstatic about this release. I can't wait to get it. Next, we have a couple of re-releases on Blu-ray, a couple of reissues here. We have Up the Creek and we have Youngblood. Up the Creek is a kind of throwaway. To me, I know that's pretty harsh to say. It's kind of a throwaway 1980s comedy, like young person comedy type of movie. In the vein of like a Porky's, of like an Animal House, of like a Revenge of the Nerds, stuff like that. But it happens to take place around a river rafting race, which is not the most exciting thing you've ever heard. Um, it's fine. I don't think it's great. Honestly, watch it on stream before you buy it. Youngblood, which came out in 1986, stars a very young Rob Lowe, during his Rat Pack era, or Brat Pack era, sorry, Brat Pack era. Also, Patrick Swayze's in the film as well, and it takes place around ice hockey. Um, Rob Lowe is this young up and coming star in hockey, and he leaves his hometown and he goes to play junior hockey up in Canada, where of course hockey is king up there. And Patrick Swayze's on his team. A super young Keanu Reeves is in the movie. First movie he was ever in, first feature film he was ever in is this movie. Didn't know that, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, is that Keanu Reeves? And it was. He doesn't really have any a speaking role or anything like that. He's just kind of in the movie as one of the guys on the team. But yeah, he's in the movie. This would be the same year he would be in. What's that movie he was in? Hold on, Keanu. Let me look up Keanu. Oh, I have the movie at the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember it. The one that he did all the way back at the beginning of his career. The one that coincidentally Kino has put out on Blu-ray in the past, but I think that Blu-ray is now out of print. River's Edge. River's Edge, I believe, came out that same year. Yes, 1986. River's Edge is an underrated movie with Crispin Glover, Iona Sky, and Keanu Reeves. I really wish I bought that on Blu-ray when I had the chance. Kino reacquire it and re-release it, or somebody buy it and re-release it because I really, really want it. Um, but what I was saying, yeah, Youngblood is, young Rob Lowe has to go up and he's got to prove himself to the other guys on the team. He's got to prove himself to himself. He's got to, rise up above criticism, rise up above his own insecurities about being a hockey player and pursuing his dream of playing in the NHL. All this kind of usual stuff. It's a fun movie. Pretty cool if you like sports movies, something like that. So that's Up the Creek and Youngblood. These are both being reissued October 8th. With they each have an audio commentary. Um, Actually, no, just Youngblood has an audio commentary. Just Youngblood has an audio commentary, and then Up the Creek has, without a paddle, a featurette about the movie. Next we've got not one, not two, but three film noir box sets. Three people, three. Three box sets of film noir goodness coming your way from Kino. uh, First up here is Film Noir: The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 22. And we've got three films here. The three films are The Enforcer with Humphrey Bogart, The Scarlet Hour, and then we've got Plunder Road. Yeah, so they're all good. I would say that they're all good. Let's see. I was just checking to see. I believe The Scarlet Hour is directed by Michael Curtiz. Hold on, let me look on Letterboxd for a second here. Sorry to kill the momentum. Yeah, The Scarlet Hour is directed by Michael Curtiz. I won't spend too much time on each film. Sorry, I'm just blanking here. So we've got, so The Enforcers from 1951, The Scarlet Hour from 1956, Plunder Road from 1957. These are all pretty lean, you know, pretty halfway decent film noirs, kind of more B-level film noirs. Even though The Enforcer does star Humphrey Bogart, I believe The Enforcer at one point in time was put out by Olive Films. So this is more of Kino acquiring a lot of the Olive Films back catalog of stuff and putting out their own editions of it. These it says here from 2021 and 2022 HD masters by Paramount Pictures. So if anything, they look better than whatever previous edition had been out before. From 4K scans. We've got audio commentary for The Enforcer and Scarlet Arrow by author film historian Alan K. Rody. He's a film noir expert guy, historian. Audio commentary for Plunder Road by film historian Jeremy Arnold, another film historian there. So that's really cool. So that is Film Noir: The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 22, coming out October 15th. Then we've got Film Noir: The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 23, from 2019 to 2022 HD Masters by Paramount Pictures from 4K Scan. We've got Rope of Sand, Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, Never Love a Stranger. Never Love a Stranger stars John Drew Barrymore. John Drew Barrymore is Drew Barrymore's father. A very young Steve McQueen is in that film. That film came out in 1958. So think of Steve McQueen when he was in The Blob. Think of that Steve McQueen. So yeah, the very young Steve McQueen is in that. Rope of Sand is directed by William Dieterle. Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye is the stars James Cagney. James Cagney doing his usual thing in that film. So that's The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 23. And then we've got The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 24. This has Union Station, starring William Holden. This has Jennifer, starring Ida Lupino. And this has The Crooked Circle, starring Faye Spain, Steve Brody, John Smith, Don Kelly, Robert Armstrong, and John Doucette. Union Station is directed by Rudolph Mattei. That's something to take note of. Let me see Rudolph Mattei. Why does that name sound so familiar to me? Rudolph Mattei. Let's see. Rudolph Mattei is actually known more for cinematography than anything, but as a director, let's see what else he directed. He directed DOA, another film noir. He directed The Violent Men, another film noir. He directed When Worlds Collide. He directed The Dark Past. He directed 300 Spartans. Okay, okay. He as a DP though, as a cinematographer, he was apparently the cinematographer on The Passion of Joan of Arc, Vampire, To Be or Not to Be, The Lady from Shanghai, Gilda, Foreign Correspondent, Stella Dallas, Dodsworth, Love Affair, My Favorite Wife, and CoverGirl, starring Rita Hayworth. Holy hell! this man shot some of the best movies you'll ever see. Wow, that's impressive as hell. So yeah, I'm a little awestruck by that. So that is Film Noir: The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 24. This is coming out. Doesn't say. And I think volume 23 also doesn't say. The only volume that we know of is coming out is October 15th. So I'm assuming they're coming out either towards the end of this year or early next year, if that leads to be believed. So next film here, we've got Garbo Talks from 1984. This is a Sidney Lumet film. A Sidney Lumet film from the 80s. That's why it's of note. It also stars Anne Bancroft. It's got a new audio commentary by film historians Howard S. Berger and Steve Mitchell. It's got a slipcover. This is coming out October 15th. So a dying mother, who's portrayed by Anne Bancroft, who of course was a legend. She was in The Graduate. She was married to Mel Brooks. She just had a day of films for TCM Summer Under the Stars, where Mel Brooks tweeted out about it, which was the most wholesome thing you'll ever see in your life. But she plays a dying mother whose last wish is to meet silent cinema star Greta Garbo. And her son, portrayed by Ron Silver, basically tries everything he possibly do to make that happen. He goes around New York investigating and to find out where Greta Garbo is staying, to get in touch with Greta Garbo. He's getting jobs at like delivery service to deliver her to like her hotel room. He's trying to go to functions that she's at. He's trying to get a hold of Greta Garbo for his mom to meet her. Which makes a very fun and kind of whimsical 1980s comedy, directed by Sidney Lumet, which is different than what I'm used to seeing with Sidney Lumet, who directs films like Serpico and 12 Angry Men and Dog Day Afternoon, and Network. Different type. That's a different type of film than this. So this is a much lighter film from him. It's a comedy, really. Carrie Fisher is also in the film as well. Carrie Fisher, I believe, plays Ron Silver's wife in the film. And yeah, it was just nice to see Carrie Fisher in the film, just to see her on screen once again. So that's Garbo Talks. If you're a fan of Sidney Lumet, if you've got a Sidney Lumet section in your collection like I do, and you're a completionist, you're going to have to get this film. Gonna have to get it. What else do we've got here? I think that's about it that I want to go through. Let me see if there's anything else that they talked about that I didn't get to talk about. Nope, pretty much everything. So with that said, let's go to Radiance. Let's make our way to Radiance. Radiance has 1, 2, 3, 4 limited editions on the way. Radiance is, of course, a company that I've been trying to buy as much of their stuff as possible. I've got stacks of their stuff around me that you cannot see off camera. We've got some comments here. Let's see. We got Josie making an appearance. Great to see you, Josie. Hello, Andrew. Finishing reading the Dallergut Dream Department Store by Mia Lee. It was a super interesting novel. I have to check it out. It's another one to add to my Goodreads. What are her new watches? Okay, Josephine's new watches since the last time. Central Station, Shanghai Express, Throwdown. Throwdown. Uh, Great film. Great Criterion release. For those of you who are just looking for a blind buy Criterion release, buy a Throwdown. Almost Human. The Ghostbreakers. Witchfinder General. That's the Vincent Price film, I believe. Miracle in Milan, which I've got. Where do I have it? Oh, I have the Blu-ray over there, don't I? I put it somewhere. Yeah, I have Miracle in Milan. Hold on. I'm gonna go get it. Hold on. Found it. There's my Vittorio De Sica Miracle in Milan, the Blu-ray from Criterion. Coincidentally, we'll be talking about Criterion. I remember when this was announced. I remember watching it for the show. I remember talking about it. Great film. If you are just trying to get into international cinema and you don't know kind of where to start or you think it's too daunting, Vittorio De Sica is kind of where to go. His films are both like majestically gigantic, but also very small and very intimate at the same time, to where you can relate on it on a very personal level. Incredible filmmaker, Vittorio De Sica. Incredible filmmaker. So that's Miracle in Milan. Um, yeah, hold on. Let me bring that comment back up. I've got this here, the Dietrich and von Sternberg collection from Criterion. Um, I've had this for years now. I think I did a complete review of it here on the channel. Check that out. Dig into the archives if you can find it. And I do have, and of course, Shanghai Express is in here. Shanghai Express is probably my favorite Marlene Dietrich and von Sternberg film compilation. Combination? Compilation. Anywho, Shanghai Express. I've had it on DVD. I've had it on Blu-ray. You can buy this set here, or you could buy the set from Indicator. Either way, these movies are worth owning. Marlene Dietrich just kind of radiated on film, and her work with von Sternberg was truly unique. Them coming over from kind of that European mindset, that European sense of acting and directing, and coming over here and making these movies. I believe, coincidentally, at Paramount. I think these movies were made at Paramount or Universal. But I think maybe it was Paramount and then Universal bought the rights years later. That's a whole big thing. But anywho, I've got that here. Let's see what else. Joey Beans 81. Cool show. I'm already interested in classic ghosts. Keep the info going. I love an overload of movie release knowledge. Oh, trust me, you've come to the right place. You've come to the right place. I've got all this knowledge that I kind of soak up like a sponge, and then when it comes time to do the show here, I just kind of let it all flow out of me. Yeah, that actually does sound interesting. Just because like I said, we don't get TV movies from the 70s on Blu-ray very often. I mean, it's tough enough just to get like TV shows from the 70s on Blu-ray. That's a battle in and of itself. I mean, I'm waiting for that day to happen, but it's slowly happening. We just got the Columbo box set from Kino last year. I would love more classic TV stuff from the 70s to get released. I mean, my wish is kind of like things like Mary Tyler Moore Show and stuff like that. That's stuff that I really wish would come out on Blu-ray, but that's just me wishful thinking. Let's see what else we got here. I watched Lime Kiln Club Field Day 1913. That's early. Yeah, Criterion Channel has a lot of like silent stuff. That's really cool. I gotta check that out. Early silent film from like 19 teens. That stuff's not easy to find. Not easy to find in good quality, I should say. I know we've got Kino's been putting out a lot of silent stuff, as well as like other companies have been putting out early silent stuff as well. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is really not really not getting a lot of restoration. A lot of it's also lost. Oh, so excited for the new Severn Folk box, says Humboldt Horror Honey. Humboldt, were you here earlier? Because I talked about it a little bit, and I brought out all the Haunts BRs. Super excited about potential to get a sequel box set to this, just to pair it on the shelf. It would be, you know, I don't know if they're gonna call it like All the Haunts BRs Volume 2, or maybe they'll call it something else, something cool like that. Um, but yeah, that's that's what my hope is too as well. I was saying I'll probably do like one of the YouTube shorts for the announcement on Thursday, just to get that out, and just to talk about it, so I don't have to wait so long. Because the next episode here won't be for another 2 weeks from today, and by that point everyone would have talked about it already. But where was I? Ah, yeah, Radiance. I'm at Radiance. Speaking of more somewhat film noir type of thing, uh, but by film noir I mean more of like in the later era, kind of. Maybe not really, but Panic in Year Zero. They're putting out a Blu-ray of Panic in Year Zero, and Panic in Year Zero has already had a Blu-ray here, if I recall, because I remember trying to buy it or wanting to buy it several times, um, from various Kino Lorber sales. Yeah, Kino's had it available since 2016. It is now out of print. I do remember seeing it on their sales, like like buy it while supplies last sale, or else it's going out of print. I remember seeing it there. They they must have lost the rights to it by now, I guess. But I want to check if that release had anything in the way of special features that this one doesn't. So that release from Kino only had a commentary with film historian Richard Harlan Smith, and then Atomic Shock, a conversation about Panic in Year Zero with fan Joe Dante, who explores the features period perspective and creative achievements, emphasizing performances and low budget nature of the effort. It is an informative and refreshingly honest look at the picture. Um, so let's see what the Radiance release has. So the Radiance release has a new interview with Kim Newman, a Raymoland archival interview, Atomic Shock, that same exact Joe Dante special feature from 2016 is on this Radiance release. So you're not missing anything there. You're all oh no, and it also has the audio commentary by critic Richard Harlan Smith. So you get all the special features from that release. Um, you get all the special features from that release. The only thing is that this is a Region B locked release, so you're going to need a Region free player in order to be able to watch it. But it comes with all the same special features, so that's nice that I was able to carry over from there. They were able to acquire all of that. I know Fran Simeone, who we've had here on the channel from Radiance, super awesome dude when it comes to all these releases. But yeah, Panic in Year Zero is an interesting kind of end of the world apocalyptic type of movie starring Ray Milland. Um, Ray Milland, who of course was in the movie The Lost Weekend, which is an astonishing film. Yeah, he's taking his family like on a vacation, on a fishing trip or something like that. And what happens is as they're driving away from home, as they're driving away from Los Angeles, they notice an explosion mushroom cloud behind them. What happens is um uh, Los Angeles has been destroyed. Suburbia has been destroyed, because now like a nuclear war has basically started. And they're basically go into survival mode right away. Ray Milland, I don't know what the background is for his character or anything like that, but he switches from like father taking his family out on a vacation to like survival mode. Like I've got to make sure my family is okay mode. Like not like ruthless as much as you can get away with for a film from the late 1950s. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be. It's not like Rambo. It's not nothing like that. Nothing modern day from that perspective. But um, that's what ends up happening, as he just ends up trying to survive this whole time. The film is super low key. His family's just like driving around in like the countryside, trying to find a safe place to like hold up and live. They're trying to find supplies. They're trying to, you know, get news of what's going on because the communications have all been shut down. I mean, people are panicking. People are like, gobbling up as much supplies as possible. I mean, basically, it's an end of the world type scenario. I mean, if you were around, I'm sure everybody listening was around, but a few years ago, during the very beginning of COVID, that type of anxiety, that type of franticness, you had people ransacking supermarkets for supplies and like in Walmarts and all that kind of stuff. You get that sense of foreboding in here. Obviously, this is a a much different situation. I'm just saying that sense of anxiety, that sense of urgency, that sense of panic. Literally, the movie's called Panic in Year Zero. So that is this movie. I thought it was really good. I really liked it. I really like this movie. I'm definitely going to be adding it to my collection. I've been trying to buy a bunch of the Radiance stuff, or at least keep up with buying the Radiance stuff. I bought a bunch recently. I think I shared this before. I got things sliding around back here. I bought Elegant Beast. I bought The Shape of Night. I shared these last time, so this is nothing new. And then Eye of the Executioner. I've been looking to get into a few more of their stuff while I can. I've kind of been waiting for certain sales to happen, but trying to wait for a sale, sometimes you miss out on some things. So that's Panic in Year Zero. This is coming out November. Looks like November 18th. Next, we've got The Story of Adele H. Now, this is a Francois Truffaut film. And this is a Francois Truffaut film that Kino has put out already. At least hold on, let me see if they have The Story of Adele H. Yes. Hold on. Yep, Kino put this out 2023. I remember us talking about it here. They had put this out. They put out like Mississippi Mermaid, and they put out some other Francois Truffaut things as well. So, uh, Radiance has got their hands on it, and they are putting it out. Let me see if I can get a list of special features here to compare. Yes, I can. So the Kino release only had a commentary by critics Julie Kergo and Nick Redman. That was a carryover from an earlier Twilight Time release. So that carried over to there. Let's see what we got here in terms of special features. We got an interview with Francois Truffaut from 1975, an interview with Isabella Gianni. Isabella Gianni stars in this film. Important. She was in the movie Possession and gave one of the greatest performances you'll ever see on screen. Footage of the premiere in Lyon with Truffaut and Isabella Gianni. Interview with cinematographer Nestor Almendros. Interview with critic Fong Li. Unfortunately, it looks like it doesn't have the audio commentary. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have the audio commentary that one had. That's a shame, but it's got all these other special features. This is a Region B release, so obviously Region B locked. But this movie is set, first of all, it's set in 1863, and Adele H is Adele Hugo, the daughter of Victor Hugo. This is based on a true story, a true person. Obviously they stretch the truth, use artistic license because it is a movie. And I believe it's based on a book as well, but she is the daughter of the legendary poet and novelist Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo, of course, did Les Miserables. He did Hunchback of Notre Dame. Victor Hugo, a very prominent French person in literature. He was also very outspoken when it came to politics. He was exiled, I believe, during the events of this movie because of speaking out against the French government at the time. But this is about Adele Hugo, and apparently Adele Hugo, at least according to what I read on the internet, had a bout of she was schizophrenic. So she has certain mental health issues that she was dealing with, and this movie depicts her kind of obsession with a British soldier named Lieutenant Pinson. She's so obsessed with him to the point where she follows him to where he is stationed in Nova Scotia, and kind of has these delusions of grandeur that he's in love with her and that they're together and that she's going to marry him and that they may already be married, and she's just obsessing over him constantly and kind of creating this own fantasy world in her mind. And you see kind of the negative aspects of that sense of obsession, that sense of overwhelming love can lead to dire consequences. You know what I mean? It can lead to mental health issues. It can lead to all kinds of things, ruining other people's lives, can lead to those things. So this movie is kind of about her and her struggles with that. It's, you know, incredibly well directed by Francois Truffaut, incredibly well acted by Isabella Johnny. Yeah, it's a good film, really good film. Um, I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of Francois Truffaut, if you've been collecting his movies, this is another one to add to the collection. Next, we've got the monster on page one, or slap the monster on page one. Sorry, slap the monster on page one. I believe this is a region A and B release. So it's a 4K restoration. This is an interesting film. Who directed this? Let me see. Let me go to my letterboxd. Let me go to my letterbox. Slap the monster on page one. This is directed by Marco Bellacchio. Bellacchio. In 1972 Milan, just a few days before the general elections, a young girl from an esteemed family is raped and murdered. Bizanti, editor-in-chief of a conservative newspaper, tries to derail the official police investigation in order to help the right-wing candidate supported by his boss to win the elections. Um, yeah, so you're dealing with a newspaper political corruption film from the 1970s in Italy. Um, and it reminded me a lot of the movie The Ides of March, the movie by George Clooney that came out. Oh, gee, when did this come out? Uh, the Ides of March came out in 2011. Wow, I thought it was a little later than that, but yeah, 2011, directed by George Clooney. The movie that starred Paul Giamatti, George Clooney, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Ryan Gosling, Evan Rachel Wood, Marissa Tomei, Jeffrey Wright is in this film. What a cast! What a cast! But it reminded me a lot of that in the sense that it's set around politics, it's set around political corruption, political elections, candidates, stuff like that, tumultuous times, things like that. And the movie um, plays on a lot of journalistic integrity or lack thereof, plays on those ideas. Um, it's it's a good film. It's a really, really good film. Um, so just reading here, it says the tumultuous time of Italy's years of lead are captured in Bellacchio's powerful political drama, which directly addresses topics of its day and even prefigured the creation of the right-wing paper Il Giornale, which came into being 2 years after this film. In an age of media manipulation, Slap the Monster on page one has never been more relevant and stands proudly alongside such Italian activist classics as We Still Kill the Old Way and The Mattei Affair. So that's the thing that's also interesting about this film, and what I think makes the film so good is that it can also be very contemporary. Media manipulation when it comes to politics. We're seeing it now. We're in an election year here in the United States. There's media manipulation all over the place, especially now with social media. It's just taken up to a whole new level, So this movie's touching on a lot of those things, and there's also kind of an investigation that moves the plot along as well as to who this woman was and connection to what the real story is behind the situation, as opposed to the fake one that the papers may be propagating and holding up. Really good film. Really good film. Um, hold on, I've lost something here. Thank you, Humboldt Hunter, honey. Yeah, you know what that happened to me earlier. Let's see if can you guys still hear me? Hold on, let me see if I can fix this. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Can you still hear me, Humboldt? Oh, I'm back. Am I back, everybody? Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. So coincidentally, that actually happened to me about 20 minutes before the show tonight. Is my camera went out and my mic went out, and I don't know why. Maybe my computer just overheats too much. I do have a lot of things going up on it. Um, but if you guys can hear me and still see me, we can wrap up because all I've got left to talk about is one more thing from Radiance and Criterion, and then we're good to go. So thank you for telling me. Yeah, what happened, I think, is hold on. Okay, good. Am I still yeah, good. So I think what happened is I have another program, like a Logitech program that's controlling the camera, and for some reason, I think that, like, froze up on me again or something happened. But either way, we're good to go. Little technical difficulties, of course, it's never easy. Um, but at least I didn't lose the whole thing because I know if I exit out of here, I don't think I can get back in. Because once the show is going and then you like end the show, um, yeah, I think like the whole thing kind of goes. But I'm glad I'm back. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Slap the Monster on page one, Italian film from the early 70s, incredibly political, apropos for our time. So next we have Japan Organized Crime Boss, which is another kind of Yakuza film. Um, let's see. Yeah, this is a region A and B release. This is also coming out in November. These are all November releases. I don't think I need to say that. Um, so two major Yakuza factions from Tokyo. So yeah, so let's see. Two major factions from Tokyo and Osaka battle over control of Yokohama, using local gangs as their proxies amid this violent struggle. Tsukamoto, the head of one of the local gangs, is released from an 8-year prison sentence. The feud forces him into action, but he learns that those pulling the strings have political connections, and that he is up against overwhelming forces, a predecessor to and blueprint for Fukasaku's sympathy for the underdog, which is another Radiance release. Japan Organized Crime Boss also signals the director's first collaboration with Sugawara, the later Battles Without Honor and Humanity, as well with uh, Saburo Wakayama, who was in the Bounty Hunter trilogy, another Radiance release, and gangster turned movie star Noboru Ando, who was in 18 years in prison, another Radiance release. A lot of connections here between the Radiance releases. But this is a film I did not get to watch. It is available to watch on the Internet Archive actually has it with subtitles, surprisingly so. Usually, the Internet Archive, when they have international films, don't have subtitles. They just don't have them. So this was surprising that that is actually on there. I just didn't have time to watch it. Um, but Japanese Yakuza film from the 1970s. Um, yeah, definitely it's something that I'm most definitely interested in. It's got a 4K transfer. It's got an archival interview with Kinji Fukasaku. It's got new interviews. It's got a video essay. Um, it's got a booklet. It's the usual good quality Radiance release that we've all come to know. Um, but yeah, that is Radiance. Radiance's November releases. We've got Panic in Year Zero, The Story of Adele H, and The Monster on Page One, and then Japan Organized Crime Boss. Um, those are the 4 releases from them, limited editions, the usual stuff. Um, let's see now. Now I think we go over to um Criterion. I think we go over to Criterion. Let me see what we're doing for time. Even with that little interval of technical difficulties. We're still making good time here. Well, I say that, and then we get to this monster slate. And we get to this monster slate. Um, okay, we're over on the Criterion website. I'm just gonna list these out, and then we're gonna go through them. Bear with me. Bear with me now. Here we go. From November. These are all November releases. Paper Moon, the Peter Bogdanovich film. Sweet Jesus, I've been wanting this for years. I know there's been a Blu-ray release, I think from Eureka, I think from maybe their Masters of Cinema line. But in terms of Region A land, all we've ever had is a DVD. Next is The Shape of Water, the Guillermo del Toro film. Funny Girl, the film starring Barbara Streisand and Omar Sharif. Then we've got CC40, the Criterion Collection 40, their 40 film box set as a tribute to 40 years of the Criterion Collection being around. We'll dive into that. Seven Samurai, here it is, people. Here it is. Seven Samurai, 4K release. I've been wanting this now forever. And it's finally here. It's finally here. This is probably the biggest essential release for the rest of the year for me. Then we've got Scarface, the film by Howard Hawks. And then we've got Godzilla by Ishiro Honda, probably another big time release priority for me. Damn, what a month! Just in time for the holidays. What an unbelievable slate of films we've got here. So Paper Moon, the Peter Bogdanovich film, it's starring Tatum O'Neal as well as Ryan O'Neal. Madeline Kahn is in the film. Yeah, it's got an audio commentary by Peter Bogdanovich, intro by Peter Bogdanovich, new video essay by Bogdanovich biographer Peter Tonguet, 3-part making of documentary about the movie, archival interview with, I think that's a Platt. I think that's, what's her first name? I always forget. Polly Platt? I think it's Polly Platt. Yeah, that's not gonna help me. I just typed in Platt on IMDb, and of course it's gonna give me Oliver Platt. But I think it's Polly Platt. Yeah. And yeah, this is an essential release for me. I've got a Peter Bogdanovich section in my collection. I mean, I still, mourn his loss, mourn the fact that he's gone. He was one of our last great connections to old Hollywood and to that old era. He knew everyone from there. He knew Hitchcock, he knew Orson Welles, he knew so many people from that era. John Ford, Howard Hawks. I mean, he was such a resource, of direct connection to a lost era of people. Incredible. But the fact that we're getting Paper Moon, love it. The Shape of Water, one of the most recent Best Picture winners, Guillermo del Toro and Criterion Collection, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. I mean, they put out so much of his work. They put out Kronos. They put out The Devil's Backbone. They put out Pan's Labyrinth. They put out Pinocchio, his stop motion Pinocchio film, which I've got right here. They put this out. So they go hand in hand. I mean, he has one of the earliest Criterion Closet videos. It's great. I really wish they would do a follow-up to that, you know, because it's such a bigger closet now, and there's so much more films and so much more things you could talk about. That would be awesome, but he's a busy guy. He's making his Frankenstein movie in Canada right now, or at least he was making it in Canada because I kept seeing him post online that he was at, like, Toronto bookstores and stuff in between, like, making the movie. So I can't wait for that to come out. That'll probably get a Criterion release in the future for all we know. But yeah, The Shape of Water. I like the movie a lot. I love the fact that it's a callback to a lot of classic cinema, specifically um, Creature from the Black Lagoon meets a Douglas Sirk film. That's kind of what it is. Sally Hawkins, I think, is as amazing in the movie. Doug Jones as the creature is you know, the makeup effect is gorgeous, and his ability to emote is incredible. Um, I believe Richard Jenkins is in the film as well. He's great. Yeah, I really like this movie. I know a lot of people may not like it. A lot of people make fun of it as like the fish movie or whatever, but I think it has a lot of old school Hollywood charm to it that I really, really like. A lot of originality in it as well. Um, but moving on from there, we have Funny Girl with Barbara Streisand, 4K UHD release, mind you. The other ones is a 4K UHD release as well. Um, Hold on, let me go back because I think Paper Moon is a 4K UHD release. Yes, it is. Um, Shape of Water is, Funny Girl is. I think these are all 4K UHD releases, uh, which is kind of incredible. But Funny Girl is a movie I haven't seen in years, but I remember liking it a lot. It's got Barbara Streisand and Omar Sharif. Uh, I always get this movie confused with Funny Face with Audrey Hepburn. Not the same movie, not kind of associated with one another, but they have similar titles. So that's why this always gets me confused. This film is directed by William Wyler. Uh, yeah, it says, witness the birth of a movie star as Barbara Streisand makes a screen debut for the ages in this musical spectacular from humor to pathos. She hits every note as a popular 1920s singer-comedian Fanny Brice, a young Jewish New Yorker whose spirit and supernova talent propel her to fame in the Ziegfeld Follies, but whose devotion to an unreliable gambler, Omar Sharif, brings drama and heartbreak into her life, adapted from a hit Broadway show and directed by Hollywood master William Wyler. Yeah, I'm a big I like Barbara Streisand a lot. Back in the 70s and into the 80s, especially when she started directing, a hell of a talent, just incredible talent. Um, just great stuff. This has a new audio interview with Barbara Streisand herself. New conversation between William Wyler's son David and author Alicia Malone. Awesome. She's also the host over at TCM. Directed by William Wyler, a 1986 documentary on William Wyler's life and career. Archival interview with Omar Sharif. Deleted scenes featuring Streisand and Sharif. Great release. And then we've got CC40. Okay, I gotta take some water for this one. So for those of you who have known, I've always kind of thought that, hey, why don't they just do an essential Criterion collection box set? And if they were to do one, you would see all of the usual suspects in it. And here we have one. We've arrived. It's like they took this straight from my mind. This is, of course, a gigantic big box set, probably going to be I'm assuming, like the size of the Ingmar Bergman box set, or maybe something even a little smaller, like the Agnes Varda box set. I'm assuming it's going to be that size. That's the gist I get. And we've got a monster of a release here. This is coming out in November. It is very expensive, and I'm assuming many of you already have many of these releases. Personally, for myself, and I'm not saying this to like gloat or anything, I have 37 of these movies already in their Criterion collection form. So for me, buying this box set doesn't really have, you know, that much value. But if you don't have it, or if you're a Criterion completist, hell, if you got the money, go for it. Go for it. Do whatever you want. But we've got let me just read off these movies: Eight and a Half, Tokyo Story, All That Jazz, Bicycle Thieves, Repo Man, Naked, Jules and Jim, Being There, Weekend. That's not the Godard Weekend. That's the No, that is the Godard Weekend. My bad, from 1967. Yee Yee, masterpiece of a film. The Night of the Hunter, masterpiece. Pickpocket, Sweet Smell of Success, On the Waterfront, Do the Right Thing, Ratcatcher, Sunday Bloody Sunday, which is one of the ones I don't have. Mirror by Tarkovsky, Barry Lyndon um by Kubrick. I kind of thought they may re-release this in 4K. Kind of surprised they haven't done it yet. Safe, the Todd Haynes film. Seconds, John Frankenheimer, His Girl Friday. Excuse me. Mishima, Life in Four Chapters. Itumama Tambien, My Own Private Idaho. Love and Basketball. Night of the Living Dead. Ace in the Hole. Three Women. The Red Shoes. Down by Law. La Cienega. Another one of the films I don't have, but I have seen La Cienega. It's very good. It's very good. Wanda, I also don't have, but I have seen. It's streaming on the Criterion channel. That's where I watched it. House, Sullivan's Travels, The Battle of Algiers, A Woman Under the Influence, which I just showed you, Cleo from 5 to 7, Persona, In the Mood for Love, and that is it. Digital restorations of all 40 films, hundreds of hours of supplemental features, of course, audio commentaries, extensive documentaries, interviews, all the stuff we've all come to know. Deluxe packaging with lavishly illustrated 216-page book featuring essays on the films by critics, scholars, and authors. Now I'm wondering, is that just the the essays that we've already have in the booklets that come in the Criterion collections, Criterion collection editions, or is it new stuff? Is it this stuff? I'm not quite sure, to be frankly honest with you. I would hope it would be, just to be all encompassing. I mean, if you're going to include all the on disc stuff, you might as well include all of the essay stuff as well. I mean, that would be helpful to the collectors out there. Yeah. So this is a gigantic set. Now, with all of that being said, like I said, I already own most of them. I'm not sure if there's a big incentive for me, but this is just a really cool release in general, and it's got all the ones you need. It's got all the ones you need. Although there's some in here that there's a few that they don't have in here that I would include personally. I feel like that's a video for a separate time. Like Umberto D, the Vittorio De Sica film, I would think that would be in here. They don't have the War Trilogy by Roberto Rossellini. I would think that that would be in here. I thought that was an essential one. Unless I passed it and didn't see it. Yeah. Anywho, I'm not going to dwell on it right now for the sake of time. Let's move on to Seven Samurai. Like I've said, and many a time when Steven was on here and by myself here, I think Seven Samurai is one of the greatest films ever made. I think it's a movie that transcends cinema. I think like I think about the movie and it blows my mind. Just the sense of epic accomplishment of the movie. Taking a story with such a relatively simple story and making it this grand epic takes true mastery of the art of cinema to do that. You know what I mean? The simple story basically being that, this village is, under periodic attack from people, and they need to hire people to help them fight back or help protect them. So they get these 7 samurais, these 7 Ronin, and that's the basic premise of that movie. And they take that and make this movie a 207-minute epic. Like, it is incredible. What they do with this movie. I'm pretty sure it's got all the special features that came with the Blu-ray and the DVD sets in the past, edition in the past. Yeah, it says new 4K restoration. You get 1 4K disc and then 2 Blu-rays, 2 audio commentaries, making of documentary, My Life in Cinema, a 2-hour conversation between Akira Kurosawa and filmmaker Nagisa Oshima. 7 Samurai Origins and Influences, a documentary looking at the samurai tradition and films that helped shape Kurosawa's masterpiece. Very interesting. yeah, to finally have this in 4K, I know it's been put out already in 4K by the time this comes out, but this was a no-brainer for Criterion, I think. It's yeah, it's one of the greatest films ever made. The next and last, and actually not even last, Scarface. Scarface, the movie directed by Howard Hawks, movie that Brian De Palma would then remake in the 80s with Al Pacino. Uh, this is a movie that uh, really made them put in the Hays Code, because this is a pre-code film, 1932. It's on that line. One of the movies that definitely spurred the Hays Code from coming into existence because of its violence, because of its uh, content and things like that. The movie stars Paul Muni, Boris Karloff, George Raft. Um, it has been released on Blu-ray before. I don't believe it's been released in 4K. This is the first time it's been released in 4K. And I have it already on Blu-ray from Imprint, and the Imprint release and this release have different special features. The Imprint release has like an audio commentary that this one doesn't have, and has an introduction by TCM's Robert Osborne, I believe. And some other special features that this one doesn't have. But this does have a new conversation between author Megan Abbott and actor Bill Hader, which is very interesting. New interview with film scholar Leah Jacobs on director Howard Hawks' innovative use of sound and editing. So that's really cool. And an alternate ending from the censored version of the film. New 4K restoration. But this is a classic. This is a gangster classic of gangster classics. It really is. The 1930s gangster films are unique in the sense that they were, unique for their times. They were kind of they were a form of both entertainment but also social commentary. Like I said, they spurred the Hays Code being put into existence. They influenced filmmakers in later generations. Martin Scorsese being pretty big among them. That's not a big leap to make that just there, or to make that connection. So yeah, that's Scarface. If you know the story of Scarface, I don't think I need to explain it to you. This is he's like a ruthless gun-toting mobster who rises through the ranks to like take over, and then of course when you rise to the ranks to the very top, there's always a downfall, and that's kind of what this movie shows as well. Kind of exactly like the 1983 film. Yeah, the Scarface of 1983. I've seen so many people have that poster up in their movie rooms and stuff. But moving on from there, and last but certainly not least, is Godzilla or Gojira. I have. Oh, let me get it. Hold on. I've owned this movie twice on Blu-ray already. Let me get it for everybody at home. So I've got the original Criterion release Blu-ray, as you can see here, with the awesome cover here. I'll just put this. Hopefully that holds. What was really cool about this release is it came out like a pop-up book. For those of you that remember, those of you that have it, has like a little pop-up Godzilla here. Looks awesome. Let me get that in the frame. And then, of course, many of you probably have the complete, Showa era Godzilla set as well. I've done a review on the channel here for this. I got this bad boy always around, always next to me. It's lovely artwork inside and out. I did a whole review on this already here on the channel for those of you interested. Massive set. I would love another volume of this, But with the Heisei era, I've been hoping they put a lot of the Heisei era films on the Criterion Channel streaming site, a streaming service. So I hope that that gets a release there. Uh, that since that's been released there, not necessarily an indication that it's going to get a physical Criterion release, but it would be nice. It would be nice. I know that they had a little trouble with Toho. I think it's Toho with getting nice masters for this. Um, so I don't know what the relationship is like there now, unfortunately. Um, but I would still love it just to have it all in one place. I would love it as problematic as that release is package wise. I would still love it the same way, just to have that sense of continuity. Um, but yeah, that's just me. But this one here, this 4K UHD looks like it's coming in this packaging here, or at least it has this cover art to it, and it's Godzilla in 4K. It's Godzilla in 4K. I can't sell it harder than that. For those of you who've seen Godzilla, the original Godzilla from 1954, I believe. It's of course it's an allegorical tale of the H bomb and things like that. Post World War II, and humanity taking technology too far and having dire consequences, literally unearthing an ancient, you know, giant monster that's going to wreak havoc on you. Um, that's kind of the original premise. But yeah, looks like it's coming with all the same special features. This is an older Blu-ray release too. This definitely needed um some type of upgrade. Um, it definitely needed some type of upgrade. Oh yeah, Humboldt. So when this one came out, this was Criterion's number 1,000 release. It's probably can't even see here on the side. It's probably, but it's number 1,000. And some people were like upset. They thought it was kind of underwhelming that they were going to release all the Godzilla films. I'm like, no, that's awesome. No, that's awesome. It's bold. Criterion, be bold, be different. You know what I mean? Not are every single one of these films great? Probably not. But damn, if they're not important to film history. I mean, Godzilla is a franchise that still goes to this day. We just had, Godzilla -1 came out last year from Japan. It was incredible. We have the American Godzilla films that are out, which are a ton of fun. They're a ton of fun. I'm kind of an apologist for them. But yeah, as I hold up my head here, it's next to Godzilla. Uh, but yeah, like I said before, I have done a deeper dive into this set here. Uh, if anybody's interested in checking that out, because it's quite comprehensive, as you can imagine. So that is it, I think, from everything, from everyone that I have my notes. I'm losing my voice, as you can tell. So we've got, we went over Radiance, Criterion, Mondo, Macabro, Kino, some individual stuff from a couple of places. So we're good. We're good here. So as for the rest of this month, I have to talk to Steven to see if we're doing an unwatched pile. We'll be back. I'll be back here, of course, to do episode number 147 in 2 weeks' time. I just want to see when that falls on, because let's see, that falls on Monday, August 2nd. The reason why I want to make note of that is because by that point, obviously, the first of the month, no, August, it would be September 2nd, my bad. September 2nd, the first of the month will be the Vinegar Syndrome and partner label announcements. So I will probably just be going over those briefly because I won't have any real time to watch a lot of those because they'll be dropping probably that Sunday, which is an odd day for those to drop. But just want to give you guys a heads up on that. By that point, we'll probably have Arrow, we'll probably have Eureka, see who else has got some stuff. I know Indicator had perhaps some stuff they're going to announce very, very soon. Severin, of course, is going to have that big announcement this week. So that'll be that. Like I said, unwatched pile, I'll see you on that. If that, keep your eyes glued here for the channel because we will probably have that up. If you haven't already, we have a Facebook page called Chasing Labels. Hold on, let me see what it's actually called. Chasing Labels, a film collector's podcast. If you want to join that over there, we'll of course be announcing anything over there, and it's just a place to kind of discuss all these things and whatnot. Yeah, and of course, you can listen to this podcast anywhere. Anywhere podcasts can be found: Apple Podcast, Google, Spotify, those usual places. You can rewatch the live stream here, go back and watch any of the old videos I've done. All that kind of stuff will be here as well. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Whatever you can do to support the channel and support Chasing Labels, it's all welcomed here. So, hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.